Some pioneers will be mentioned, but it is mainly the research implemented with computers that will be addressed. The content of the book is thus partly historical, since the main approaches to the problem will be presented in an intuitive manner. The idea is to make sure that the listener can understand the main principles without having to know all the technical details. Specifically, recent approaches based on the statistical analysis of very large corpora of texts will be presented, but these approaches are highly technical, and we will skip the mathematical details that are not necessary to grasp the overall idea. More technical books exist for those who are interested in the full details of the different approaches. The book begins with a presentation of the main problems one has to solve when developing a machine translation system. The journey continues with a quick overview of the evolution of machine translation, followed by a more detailed presentation of the history of the field, from its beginnings before the advent of computers to the most recent advances based on deep learning. Along the way, we will encounter all the main approaches developed since the field's beginning. Rule-based approaches up to the ALPAC report and its consequences, and the advent of parallel corpora, which fueled research in the field after the 1980s, first through the example-based paradigm, then through the most popular statistical paradigm, along with its more recent developments, the segment-based approach, and the introduction of more linguistic knowledge to the systems. This book is not limited to a presentation of the main approaches to the problem. We will also address evaluation issues, which can be either manual or automatic, and the closing chapter will give some details about the commercial situation of the field, as well as its main actors worldwide. Although the domain is evolving quickly, including from a commercial point of view, we think it is important to address industrial issues since machine translation is now a key technology for several prominent domains, from defense to media and telecommunications. Lastly, we conclude with some observations on the current state of the field. 2. The trouble with translation. Before addressing machine translation, it is important to investigate the notion of translation itself. How do we proceed when we translate? What makes a translation a good translation? In the course of this chapter, we will hear that these questions are hard to answer and have already given rise to an abundant literature. In the second part of this chapter, we will investigate why understanding a sentence, something that is easy and natural for humans, is one of the most difficult things to do with computers, despite their incredible calculation power. What does it mean to translate? The answer to this question may seem obvious. To translate is to transpose a source language text into a target language text. However, one can easily see that this deceptively simple answer refers in fact to a dramatically complex problem. What does it mean to transpose a text? How do we go from a source language to a target language? How does one find equivalent expressions between two languages? Should the translation be based on words, chunks of words, or even sentences? And, more fundamentally, how can one determine what the meaning of a text or an expression is? Does everybody have the same understanding of a text? If not, how can this issue be handled in the translation process? As should be clear from the previous paragraph, translation is connected with a large number of questions dealing with linguistics, but also psychology or even philosophy when the nature of meaning is at stake. Instead of addressing these highly complex questions with no clear answer, it is probably more useful to take a step to the side and try to determine what the characteristics of a good translation are. What is a good translation? A first crucial issue when addressing translation is that no one knows how to formally define what constitutes a good translation. We should thus not expect to make much headway from this perspective, but at least some criteria can be found in the literature. Criteria for a good translation. The translation of a text should be faithful to the original text. It should respect the main characteristics of the original text, the tone and style.